Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WiggyWam's Get Your Property Questions Answered webinar. We are now into week 20. Can you absolutely believe it? The time seems to have flown by. I can't believe that we're now into 20 episodes. That's almost half a year of doing these webinars, which has been such a lot of fun over the course of the last 20 odd weeks, as I say. And it's been a real pleasure to take each and every one of your questions and take the time to actually sit down and answer it in depth, which I think is sadly lacking in the industry at the moment. I know many people, when they're looking at buying and selling a house, sometimes they have questions that they think might actually be a little bit too basic or a little bit too, one of those silly questions. I think, I daren't raise that question because somebody might think that I'm silly or what have you. But actually, when you've never done anything before, like moving house, or if you've never repaired a car before, sometimes you've got to start at the absolute basics and then build on that knowledge base, right? So I think it's absolutely essential that we take the time to answer these questions in whatever format that they may be, whether they are from a first-time buyer who's, as I say, never bought or sold a property before, maybe somebody who's a little bit more experienced but has got some more complex issues that they need to deal with, or whether you're an estate agent or a conveyancer or anybody else, maybe a solicitor, a surveyor, who needs a bit of support in building their business or overcoming some challenges when it comes to communicating with their clients or winning more business, which is really exciting. So welcome to the webinar. We're here every week doing this, so please feel free to submit your questions to us. You can get them to us via email address, which is happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. That's happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. You can also send them to us via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is at WiggyWam_UK, so that's at WiggyWam_UK. Or you can go to our website, which is wiggywam.co.uk. You can set up a free profile on there, and you can send any questions to us via the forums or actually via our personal messages to us directly if that's your preference. So that's all really exciting. I wonder how you're getting on as well, as we're into middle of the way through the sort of third week of January, how you're actually getting on with your New Year's resolutions. If you're anything like me, it's been a bit of a challenge just to sort of stick to the routines that you said that you wanted to do. Get on top of those resolutions and make it more of a habit, I suppose, for most of us. One of the ones that we've been working on recently is health and fitness, and of course, that entails going to the gym for the first time in a long time. I was actually doing quite well last year, doing regular workouts, and then unfortunately, me and my partner got ill for quite a number of weeks. I don't know what it was. It was some kind of gastroenteritis. You guys don't want to know all the details, but trust me, we struggled with it for about 6 weeks, and it just went on and on and on, and it was absolutely horrendous. So lost about 2 stone, which was amazing for a weight loss and all the rest of it. But in terms of actually building health and strength, completely finished me off and couldn't go to the gym for months actually afterwards. Lost all my appetite and all the rest of it. But now, thankfully, all of that's back. I've got my appetite. I'm building my strength back up. I've been in the gym, but I've also been doing a lot more walking. And when we had the terrible storms that we had over the course of the last week or so, unfortunately, last week I took my dog for a walk. I mean, he's usually very good. He's off the lead. We go around the local woods, and for the first time, well, only the second time since I've had him in the last 7 years, he went missing, and the sheer panic that brought into me was absolutely off the charts. And because it was so windy, I was blowing the dog whistle like crazy, and he just disappeared. I just didn't know where he was, and I was walking around, and we normally do this kind of circuit, so I know roughly where he's likely to be, and I kept walking further and further, and I couldn't see him anywhere. And I thought, has he fallen down? Has he hurt himself? Has he gone chasing a squirrel somewhere and he's now in the middle of nowhere? All of these sorts of things go through your head, and then you think, oh my God, what if somebody's stolen him? Or all this sort of panic. And thankfully, I came across a couple of good Samaritans in the woods, and I asked them if they'd seen, this golden retriever, and they said, no, we haven't, but we'll keep our eyes open for it. And thankfully, they went one way, I went the other way, and we met in the middle, and they'd managed to find him, which was a real stroke of luck. So, enjoying the resolutions of doing a bit more walking, but obviously not without a few challenges along the way. So thankfully, we've been reunited, and everything's good on that front, and we can carry on the new year as we've intended to do more walking, lose a bit more weight, get a bit more strength going, and drink a bit more water, I think. So I'll take a lead there and have a quick sip before we get started with our questions. A couple of things that also I want to say before we get going. As we've mentioned in previous podcasts, but in case you haven't seen those, we are looking for more and more guests and experts to come on our podcast. We're going to do an experts corner for people in the profession, in the industry, who have certain amounts of knowledge and they want to demonstrate that or share that with our audience. We've got some pretty good uptake in terms of people who have booked in already to do that. And not only that, I should point out that our mailing list and our database is growing all the time. So I think we're at about 30,000 odd people at the moment who are on our list. But the important point is that these videos that we're doing every week, we've actually crossed two incredible milestones. The first is that one of our videos actually had over 1,000 views on it, which is amazing. I'm really, really pleased about that. But also the video that we released last week on our webinar is well over 750 views within less than 7 days, which is incredible. So our community is getting more and more engaged with the content that we're putting out there, which is great. And the point of me mentioning this is because you may have heard this idea that you need to be putting content out there to raise your profile in business and all the rest of it. And sometimes it's really demoralizing when you put a video out and it goes on YouTube or it goes on TikTok or all the rest of it, and it doesn't quite align with their algorithm. And as a consequence, what happens is you kind of end up with very low numbers of people viewing, and that can be a little bit demoralizing. If you've got your friends and family who are watching your videos and they're all saying great, but nobody else is actually watching them, then they can be a little bit disheartening. But if you want to share that content and get it posted on WiggyWam, or as I say, you want to come on our podcast and become a guest one of the weeks, we're more than happy to do that. We'll do some special editions with experts that you can share with your community, and we'll also share it on WiggyWam, so you'll get additional exposure there. We'd love to have you on. So again, just hit me up on email address happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. That's happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. And just put Experts Corner in the title there. So that's Experts Corner in the title, and we'll arrange for you to get you on ASAP, which will be really exciting. Also, what I want to say is please consider sharing this content with your networks. There are a lot of people out there that are struggling right now. I'm seeing more and more and more questions that are posted in online forums and things like social media, where people are just pulling their hair out because they're getting log jammed with solicitors, or they're getting put in situations where they're having to pay out thousands and thousands of pounds and they can't find a solution to the problem. I literally met somebody out the other day dog walking, and they'd spent over £4,000 in surveys on failed purchases because they couldn't find the right property, and they couldn't find the right surveyor to go out and look at these properties. They were looking at quite old buildings, and if they'd have had a little bit of guidance and support from us, perhaps that situation would have been a bit different. So I'm going to encourage you to share this with as many people as you can. Every little helps, as they say. So if you want to see one of our videos and share it with your audience, that would be amazing, with your friends and family, just because, as I say, many people are looking for help and support. They don't know where to turn to. And we're here every week doing this to give them that help and support that they need, get their questions answered, and also find the professional connections that they need in order to help them with their moving journey. So feel free to do that. Please do. If you want to support our cause, if you want to pledge allegiance to the property revolution that is happening within WiggyWam, that would be amazing. So thank you in advance for all of the help and support that you can offer. And all of that said, let's get cracking with this week's questions. So question number one comes in from Kelly. Hi there, Kelly. Thank you for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. Kelly says, could you explain more about how WiggyWam's system works for estate agents? That's a nice, simple and quick and easy question to run through there, Kelly. So thank you for that. Look, I want to share some pretty comprehensive information with you here on this question, Kelly. I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as possible. So in the age of distraction, it's very easy to get caught up where you think, I'll just put this video on in the background and I'll just listen whilst I'm doing other things like emailing or Facebooking or whatever else it might be. I'm going to encourage you to just stop what you're doing for literally 5 minutes and let me blast through this, because this is really important for any estate agents and also conveyancers who are working with the general public, buying and selling properties. And this is why I feel I've come into a lot of criticism for my views about where I feel the home buying and selling group are going wrong in their search for the elixir, if you like, or the ultimate solution to helping people buy and sell property. My view is, frankly, that there are many things that can be done to speed up the house buying and selling process, and I put it into a kind of top five, if you like, five major areas where I think we can really help agents make more money and win more listings. It's that simple. But here's the first one. What I've seen in my experience is the first major area where buyers and sellers need support in their moving journey is education. And that really needs to come right at the very start of their moving journey. So if you think about the psychology of people buying and selling property, when they're thinking about selling, they could be thinking 6, 12, 18, 24 months before they put their property up for sale, and they want to make that move. Okay, so they want to get their kids into a certain school, or they're moving with work, or whatever else it is. It's never really a case of, oh, we've just decided we're going to put a house up for sale. There's usually a lead-in process, okay? And yourselves, when you're dealing with educated buyers and sellers, or educated public, it's a lot easier to deal with that rather than actually having to handhold somebody through the entire process who's never done it before, or lacks all the education or the knowledge that they need in order to move. And that's not being critical of anybody, but as we said right at the introduction, without that help and knowledge and support, people don't know what they're doing, and why would they? Okay, and that's why they're going to turn to estate agents and conveyancers to get that information. Now, if you think about it, you're probably getting asked the same questions week in, week out from different buyers and sellers along the way. So doesn't it make sense to remove all of that workload that's involved in answering all of these questions and do it once, and let that system run in the background as an education nurturing process for your prospects and your clients, okay? So this is why we do these webinars each and every week, is because not only does it answer people's immediate and burning questions, but I guarantee that if we've got 1 million people a year moving home, that more than one person has got that question as a burning question. And so what it does is actually builds up a knowledge database, Kelly, okay? So you've got a knowledge database that's building up over the course of the last 20 weeks, and we take about 5 or 6 questions every week. So you can imagine that we're now over 100 of these little videos that we put together as an FAQ, if you like, or a knowledge database for buyers and sellers to tap into, so that they can have their questions answered comprehensively, and they can sit and watch a video, or they can read a PDF, or they can read a book, for example, Home Buyer Secrets, and they can start to get that knowledge and education that they need, which cuts out all of those phone calls or those emails that you're having to deal with, where buyers have all these questions that they're direct to you because they don't know where else to go. Okay, so they're going to come to you and put those questions on your desk. So let's remove all of that and put it into an education nurturing process that you can put in place for your clients, that answers their questions really quickly. Then you've got educated buyers and sellers to work with who are a lot easier to help and support. Plus, they understand the benefits of why they should pay more for the service. And this is really important, Kelly, because I see so many agents and solicitors having to undersell their professional services because they feel that that's what all the market will pay, when actually the opposite is true. But the client needs a logical reason to justify the emotional decision to purchase your services, okay? And what you're selling isn't tangible. So you need to demonstrate to your clients why you're offering this tangible service, which is estate agency, and why you're dedicated to helping them achieve the best price they can for their property. But not only that, that your work really comes into play once the sale has been agreed, okay? And all of those things, and I know I've thrown a lot at you in this one part of the 5 major processes, Kelly, but that part alone, the proving your worth as an estate agent, is so important, because most agents most sellers don't realize it, and they just think, well, all the estate agent does is put the property online and then that's it, really. And then I pay thousands of pounds for this service, which actually I could probably get for free elsewhere if I look around. You know what I mean? So it's about educating your client as to why they need you, and that will help you to win more instructions at higher fees. That's the first step, okay? So we've covered that basis for you by providing books like Home Buyer Secrets and all of the knowledge and information that's contained within the learning center within the WiggyWam website. Okay, so if you go to wiggywam.co.uk/learn, you can see the learning center there, register for an account, you'll see all the videos that we put together, and that knowledge database is growing rapidly. And as I say, we post these webinars each and every week. We post the individual questions also. And this is a really helpful knowledge bank that you can share with your audience to cut down a lot of the work and help educate them as to why they want to be choosing you to work with. Okay. Now, the second element, Kelly, to get in place, and this is absolutely crucial, this is what we call a protect your pocket policy. Okay. Now, when you consider that 1 in 3 sales will fall through, that's the statistical national average, that 1 in 3 sales will fall through, then you've got to understand, if you're asking your clients to go out on a limb with no guarantee, no surety of sale, no surety of purchase at all, but to put full faith and trust in buying or selling a property, and then running the risk of spending thousands of pounds on professional surveys, on professional legal fees, on searches, on God knows what else, to buy or sell a property, and there's a risk that that deal could fall through and they'll lose all of that money, you can hopefully see why a protect your pocket policy is a complete no-brainer, and it's absolutely what you should be recommending, in my humble opinion, to your buyers and seller clients in order to help them to maximize the opportunity of buying and selling, but also reducing the risk of all the financial outlay that they will make, because when things go wrong, they're the ones that lose out. Okay, so hopefully you can see the sense of that. As I say, I think it's a complete no-brainer. I just wish this sort of thing had been available 10 or 15 years ago when I first started buying and selling properties, but that's an absolute must as far as I'm concerned. And once you've got that in place, if you think about it, it opens the door to being able to charge sellers for things like sellers packs. Okay, because their backstop is, well, all of this cost that I'm paying out should actually be covered by a protect your pocket policy. So if everything goes wrong, I lose my buyer at the 11th hour, and that does happen. As well as I do, it happens, and it can happen every single day in the property market. I've lost my buyer, or I've lost my, the one I'm buying from. They've decided to change their mind and not move now. Then their costs are underwritten, and it takes the sting out of the tail of not being able to move. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The third thing, Kelly, that needs to be put in place is, I believe in this very passionately. Okay, so if you're a solicitor or a conveyancer or an estate agent and you're listening to this, listen very carefully. I believe very passionately about this, that we need to remove the legal bottleneck in the conveyancing process. And what I mean by that is that it's very obvious to me, certainly, and whether it is to others, I'm not quite sure, but it's very obvious to me that a lot of law firms have been taking on cut price conveyancing work in order to try and earn a living. Okay. And not only that, a lot of them are paying out big referral fees to joint venture partners or introducers who are introducing work to them. And that model isn't working anymore. And the reason it's not working more than anything is because the professional indemnity insurance policy costs that solicitors have to have in place in order to trade are going up astronomically at the moment. And this is causing a lot of them to go to the wall. It's caused a lot of legal businesses to fail. We're hearing stories week in, week out now of law firms that are having to close their doors for good, and they've been around for a long time. It's absolutely tragic. But the point of me saying this is, if this is the bottleneck to the entire process of getting moved, that every sale and purchase has to go through the hands of a law firm or a solicitor in order for the deal to complete, then doesn't it make sense to actually pay the conveyancer more money? And I feel I'm the only one in the industry that's championing for this right now, but to pay the conveyancer more money in order to allow them to have the time and the effort to focus on doing exactly what they want to do, okay, which is to get the deal across the line as quickly as possible. Now, this is a major switch in mindset from a conveyancer that charges $599 plus VAT, for example, for a conveyance, versus asking them to ask their clients to spend £1,200 or £1,500 with them. But it's a complete no-brainer. If you say to your client, look, option A is to go with a standard conveyancer who is going to take at least 4 or 5 months to get this deal across the line, with a 1 in 3 chance of that deal falling through, but you might pay £700. Or option B is, actually, we can get this done in 6 weeks. It's going to cost you £1,200 plus VAT, but there's a 1 in 10 chance the sale might fall through. What do you want to do? Okay, and for the sake of £500-600, it's a complete no-brainer in my book as to why any buyer or seller wouldn't want to spend that extra money in order to give an experienced conveyancer time and effort to spend on the case file to get it through as quickly as possible and remove a lot of the frustration that's suffered by agents not being able to bank their fees quickly enough, and for buyers and sellers who get incredibly frustrated because they're having to wait months and months and months for anything to happen. And as I say, I'm not blaming this on the lawyers. I'm not trying to make it the lawyer's fault. I'm just simply offering them an alternative, which is to actually charge what you're worth. Okay, so you can probably see I get very passionate about this, Kelly, and this is something I am incredibly passionate about because it is so important to remove this legal bottleneck in the process. Okay. Now, fourth thing that needs to be done from an estate agent's point of view that you can plug into with the WiggyWam system is things like sellers packs and searches. Okay. It's very clear that in order to, again, assist with this conveyancing bottleneck, that we need more upfront information in place. And it's only going to help buyers and sellers to do deals more quickly and to be more informed at the point of making an offer. So a seller's pack is absolutely essential. But the reason most agents don't do it is because they first of all, they don't see the value or they don't want to change. But secondly, an essential part of the seller's pack are things like searches, okay? And they don't want to put searches in place because it's a major cost to the client that the client may not recover if they decide not to sell. Okay, or the sale falls through at a later date. Now, go back to whatever it was, point number 2 about putting the protect your pocket policy in place. Surely the light bulb's starting to go on now to go, actually, yeah, this makes total sense. This is exactly why you need a protect your pocket policy in place. And this is exactly why it would then allow us to put searches in place. But wait, there's more, okay? Because it gets even better that we are pioneering with one of the largest search providers in the UK, something that we call Twin Search, okay? Now, what is Twin Search? Sounds amazing, I know, but what Twin Search is actually, it's a 2-part search system, okay? Now, the first part, or the first twin, if you like, of the searches is about 70% of all the information that's available on a property that isn't likely to change over the course of the next sort of, 3 to 5 years. Now, that first tranche of information goes into the seller's pack and is readily available almost immediately. So as part of the seller's pack, they get the majority of the information up front, which makes a more informed buyer at the point of putting their offer in. The second part, the second twin, if you like, is about 30% of the information, which is information that may change over the course of time. And that information is instructed at the point of solicitors getting involved in the sale or purchase of the property, okay? So that information then cuts down a massive amount of waiting around for local authorities to return that information because we can get it back a lot quicker. And then the seller's pack is 100% complete. And as I say, it makes for a much more informed buyers and sellers. Much more information is going into the solicitor's hands on day one. And as a consequence, the whole deal should move a lot quicker. So hopefully you're starting to see how this whole system falls into place. And then finally, the fifth part of all of this, I think, is what we lovingly call communication community. So if you think about, again, buying and selling, it can be quite a lonely journey for people. They need people around them to bounce ideas off, to get their questions answered and all the rest of it. And again, as you know, if you've been in the industry for more than 5 minutes, you know that a lot of buyers and sellers are sort of riddled with anxiety and frustration, and they're kind of emotionally charged in a lot of ways, which is why they tend to go off down the phone at you when it's not your fault. It's nothing to do with you, whatever's going on. But, they just get so worked up with what's going on. And so by having a community within WiggyWam, which is where a sort of social media aspect of the platform comes into play, it really helps them to sort of build that community and get support around them and to get their questions answered and to bounce ideas off and share knowledge and information with other people and really become quite helpful to others in their moving journey. And not only that, we have workspaces that are built into the back end of WiggyWam. So once a sale or a deal is agreed, you can very quickly set up a workspace within about 2 clicks of your mouse. And what that does is it allows you to invite the buyer, the seller, obviously you're the estate agent, so you'll be part of the group, and you can invite both parties, solicitors as well if you want to, and a mortgage broker or anybody else that you feel is relevant. And within that workspace, is like a timeline of all of the events that are happening. People can very quickly update. There's a checklist that goes in there as well, so people are updated as to what's being done and also what's to come in the future. And all that is backed up again by the learning center within the WiggyWam platform, sorry, so that when people are looking for information or answers to their questions, they can go to the learning center, get that knowledge and information. They haven't got to keep bouncing questions off you guys as estate agents or solicitors. And more importantly, as they go through this entire journey, everything is logged, so everybody can see what's going on at all times, and it really just gives a clear cut through the confusion, if you like, roadmap of everything that's actually taking place. The other thing that's really essential for a buyer and a seller is that we talk about communication being a major deal. People don't necessarily need a 10-minute phone call that tells them the searches are back or whatever. They don't need that. What they need is a notification on their phone that says, oh yeah, by the way, this has happened. Okay, great. That's fantastic. At least I know that, at least I now know that not everybody's forgotten about me, that they are actually taking steps towards my sale or my purchase, and things are happening in a structured and organized fashion. Okay. So we really are passionate about all of this, and we thought so clearly about how this whole process needs to be done in a different way. And like I say, this process is probably absolutely bang on for about 85% of all property transactions in the UK. The other 15% might require a little bit more hand-holding through the deal, which is where obviously solicitors and estate agents earn their money. But that's the whole point of paying you guys a little bit more, or a lot more, because that's where your expertise comes into play to help these people out. Okay. So I hope that gives you a bit of a structure, Kelly. I know it's a bit long-winded, so I appreciate your attention. And if you've stayed with me this long, listen in for this last little bit, because this will blow you away. What we've decided to do as part of our marketing structure within the business is to actually build in an affiliate system into our platform. So rather than spending huge sums of money on TV adverts and all the rest of it, which is what so many other firms out there do, we actually believe that the money is better spent within our community itself. So we believe in self-supporting, self-revenue generating within the community. And so let's say, for example, you're an estate agent and you sign up with us, Kelly, and then you know that you've got maybe 3,000 people on your email database. It might be more, it might be less, but you also know that those same 3,000 people might be registered with 2, 3, 4 other agents in your local area. Now, if they receive an affiliate link from you for whatever else products or service it might be, introducing that product and service to them, then you will receive a commission once they buy that product or service, even if they never interact with you ever again. So if you're in, let's say you're in Newcastle, for example, as an estate agent, and you share this information with a potential buyer who's registered on your mailing list, and all of a sudden they decide that they've got to do a job move and they move to Liverpool. And as they're moving to Liverpool, they decide that they want to get their searches done through WiggyWam, for example, or they want to, get some other product or service through us, then you will receive a commission from that introduction when they buy that product or service, even if they never interact with you ever again. So you can hopefully see how powerful this is, that you're making money even from your competition or from your leads that you might otherwise have just vaporized and never interacted with you ever again. So hopefully you can see how smart this is, what we've tried to build into it. But that affiliate system is only available for a limited number of people. I will be honest, we're opening that up to around about the first 100 people. And again, one of the important things is if, again, you're an estate agent, Kelly, so imagine that as your competitors are all paying their subs to these various different platforms, imagine if you were getting some of their subscription from another platform like WiggyWam, for example, into your bank account every month. Imagine your competitors paying you money to advertise their properties or to be part of the WiggyWam community. I think that'd be really cool, if I'm honest. But that's just me. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview, Kelly. Look, I'm happy to walk you through with a demo if you like at any point, or any other estate agent or conveyancer who likes the idea of WiggyWam and they think that it would be a good fit with their business. By all means, get in touch with us. We'll do a demo. Just send me an email, happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk, and we'll arrange, just put demo in the subject title. And we'll happily arrange a no obligation demo. We'll walk you through the site. We'll show you exactly what it's all about and how all of the different pieces fit together. Okay, and it'll, I believe, quite frankly, this is going to cut your workload by at least 40%, if not more. And I would hope that by putting into place what we talk about and using the various suites and tools and services that we're offering, I would say you should at least look for a 25-30% increase in revenues just for plugging into WiggyWam. That's what I honestly, genuinely believe. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding. You'll have to try it out with us, see what you think. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then no hard feelings. At least we tried, right? So hope that answers the question, Kelly. Thanks for bearing with me whilst I went through it. You can probably tell I'm very passionate about what we're doing here at WiggyWam. So any other questions that you've got, or if you want that demo, or if anybody else wants that demo, hit me up with an email. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. Just put demo in the title, and yeah, we'll get on that. All right, thank you for your question, Kelly. Good luck with everything, and let me know what else we can do to help. All right, thanks ever so much. All right, then, moving on. Question number 2 comes in from John. Hi there, John. Thank you for your question and for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. So John says, our property was valued at $210,000 last year, and we accepted an offer for $190,000. Given the time lapse since then, we are concerned that the buyer's surveyor will undervalue it for the lender. He's coming over tomorrow. If he does value it lower, where do we stand if the offer has already been accepted? Okay, John, well, that's a great question, and I appreciate your concern. There's been a lot of conflicting opinions floating around, I've noticed, in the media and also on social media about what's happening with the market, whether it's going up, down, sideways, what's actually happening. Obviously, we've got the cost of living crisis to factor into all of this, and a lot of people are suggesting that, you know, mortgage rates have increased, but then they're also now coming back down, so the market should continue to be buoyant. But I think what's mainly being overlooked here is the impact in terms of cost of living and the overall increase in people's expenditure on heat, light, and power, which I think has been substantial and will be continue to erode people's purchasing power for some time. Also makes people nervous when you've got uncertainty in the marketplace. That's one of the driving factors, that if confidence is lower, then obviously, you know, the housing market can begin to slow down. But to get into the meat of your question, John, the first point to say here is that value is subjective, okay, and it's usually backed up. So any value of a property is usually backed up by what's known as comparable evidence. All right. And what comparable evidence is that when the valuation surveyor turns up at your property, like he or she is going to do tomorrow, okay, they'll come around, they'll inspect the property, they'll look for any obvious signs of defects within the property, and then they'll usually leave. And what will happen, as used to happen in my days when I was an estate agent, they'll get on the phone, okay, and the surveyor will call usually 2 or 3 local estate agents, and they will ask if they've sold other properties in the area of a similar size accommodation, similar condition, okay, and what those properties have actually sold for. Now, this is not what they've sold subject to contract for, which is when the sign goes on the board and it says sold subject to contract, or, you know, reserved, or whatever else might be on the board, but actually what they completed at, which means when they've completed, that usually those properties that have sold and completed have had another valuation surveyor look at them. They put a valuation on the property. That's been backed up by the bank, who is happy to, you know, commit to that level of exposure on that property. And then the sale's completed, which means the surveyor has a lot more confidence and reliance that actually that's the value of that property. Now, if I give you a simple example, John, imagine you've got 4 terraced houses, okay, and the first property sold for 100,000, the second property sold for 92,500, the third property sold for 97,500, and I ask you what's the fourth property worth, you're gonna say roughly, you know, 95 to 100,000. Okay, that's how comparable evidence works. And in your situation, hopefully, what your own estate agent should be able to do, or you can do on their behalf, is to go around and talk to estate agents or gather together at least 3 comparables of properties that have ideally sold within the last 3 months in your local area that are of a similar type of accommodation and condition. Okay. And if you can do that and put it in front of the surveyor's nose tomorrow, great, because you're doing, a large part of his job for him, which he's going to find, or she's going to find, really helpful. Okay. That would be what I would be doing. And we used to do this a lot as property investors. When we knew that the valuation surveyor was turning up at the property, we'd also be there, and we'd provide at least 3 comparables of properties that have sold in the area at a similar price and condition. You can get this information online. It is available online. You can go on sites like, I think it's Mouse Price or something of that ilk. The slight issue is that a lot of this data comes from land registry, and with land registry delays with getting titles complete and deals complete on land registry, a lot of that information on prices has been delayed by several months. So it's outside the 3-month window usually that valuation surveyors look for when it comes to comparable evidence. Okay, so that would be the first step I would take, is to gather that comparable evidence, put it in front of the surveyor. If you can't do it, if it's too short notice, then just be aware that they're likely to do it once they leave your property, once they've completed the inspection. So if you can rally round with your estate agent and provide that information to them before they go, or within the next 24 hours, that will help them complete their valuation report. Okay, so that's a really, really good place to start. The second thing I will say is, if the surveyor downvalues the property, the next question is, by how much? Okay, now it might be there could be a number of different scenarios. Let's say, for example, the surveyor says there's an issue with the chimney breast that they've noticed, and they can see the chimney stack outside the roof of the property probably needs £2,000 worth of work doing to it in their estimate. Okay, now they may apply a retention on the mortgage by £5,000, for example, until that work is completed. Now, that's not necessarily a down valuation, but it is an obstacle to overcome that's going to require the input of your estate agent to help you navigate those choppy waters of either you getting the work done and proving that it's all done, and sending, making sure the surveyor is satisfied so that they will relieve the retention from the mortgage, so that the buyer can get the full amount of mortgage in place and then complete the purchase. Or you've got to then capitulate on the price and either drop by £2,500 to cover the work and the cost and inconvenience of doing it, or you've got to come to some kind of other arrangement where, if the price has been downvalued by a couple of grand, then your estate agent, if they're good at negotiating, which they should be because they're an estate agent, they might look at doing this from a point of view of, can we throw in something else with the property deal to make it a little bit more sweeter? Like, well, actually, they're going to leave the carpets and the curtains, or there's a hot tub in the garden that's worth 3 or 4 grand. You can have that as part of the deal as long as you stick to that price. Okay. Now, the third scenario might be that actually the surveyor comes along and they completely downvalue the property, either because they don't know what they're doing, because they're incompetent, which does happen. I've had that happen to me on an occasion. I'll share that story with you. It was absolutely devastating. It was a guy that I'd met after I become qualified as a building surveyor. I went back into agency for a period of time, and I was helping them set up their conveyancing department. Sorry, their survey department before the credit crunch actually happened. And then as I left that company, I've been working with this particular surveyor to try and establish that surveying department, which didn't actually happen. And this surveyor then came and looked at a building that I'd bought several years later, and it was over a 3,000 square foot of office accommodation that we converted into flats and bedsits as a HMO, with office accommodation downstairs. Round numbers, I'd bought the building for about 160,000. I'd spent over 100 on it converting it. In anybody's book, it was easily worth 300 to 350,000 at least. Okay, and this surveyor, who was full of the green-eyed monster, came round, and after me spending £5,000 for his valuation report, okay, he valued the building at 165,000. Okay, absolute incompetence, but not just incompetence. It was, I believe, he did it as some kind of, whatever it was, jealousy or some other nonsense that he'd got going through his mind at the time. But in that position, I couldn't actually do anything because he'd completely sabotaged the mortgage application through, I think it was Aldermore at the time or whatever it was. He'd completely sabotaged that application because I could never go back to Aldermore and say, by the way, the surveyor's incompetent. He's undervalued the building by probably the best part of £150,000. Okay. I just couldn't do that because it just puts everything into a state of, well, why has he valued it at this price, right? So it then cost me another, I think it was £3,000 or £4,000 to get another surveyor in place who was an absolute gentleman who came around and looked at the building, was like, I can see exactly where you're at. It's easily worth 350 to 360, and gave me that valuation. And those two surveyors' visits were within about 2 weeks of each other. Okay, so nothing drastically had changed on site, but you can see the clear, utter incompetence of this one surveyor, who obviously had some kind of personal vendetta against me or whatever else it might be. So the point of telling you that story is, obviously, if it's a massive down valuation, it's kind of the nuclear option, if you like, and the deal is probably likely to fall apart unless your buyer can go to another provider and actually get a new mortgage product and then get another surveyor to come around and look at the property. It is unfortunately very difficult, challenging competence of a surveyor when it comes to them working alongside their mortgage companies. So if it's a massive down valuation, then you've either got to say, is it fair and reasonable, which is unlikely to be, based on the fact that we're not talking millions of pounds here. So it would be a case of you would need to potentially find another buyer, or your buyer would have to go to another mortgage provider and then try and get another mortgage product in place in order to allow their deal to go through as quickly as possible. So hope that helps. In terms of your situation, John, I wouldn't be too worried about it. Hopefully it'll be a non-entity. I can understand the nerves because you're selling a property, you've invested time, effort and money. You don't want to lose your buyer, but I would just sit tight with it. Hopefully it'll all go plain sailing, and if you can provide that comparable evidence with your estate agent, that's going to massively help you to make sure this all goes through as quickly as possible. All right. So good luck. Let us know if we can help at all, John, with anything else. And as I say, good luck with it all, and may it all work out in your favour. All right. Thanks for the question. Okay, question number 3 comes in from June. Hi there, June. Thank you for your question and for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. So June says, we've had a builder round to quote for some work to fit a new kitchen, to do some rendering and to build a patio and knock down a wall between the living room and dining room. Once he'd finished reviewing everything, I asked if he could provide some references. He then got very offended and said he doesn't provide references for small jobs. We have never had such a huge amount of work done, and for us it is a substantial amount of money. Are we wrong to have asked for references? Is this not the done thing? All right, there, June. Well, thank you for your question. Really interesting to hear that this particular builder got offended when you asked for references. I think you're absolutely right to be doing that. If I were you, I'd be definitely asking for references in support of builder's previous work and his happy and satisfied clients, particularly where you've got what could be, major structural work happening at your property if you're removing an internal wall. I don't know if it's load bearing or not. You haven't said that in your question, but the point being, it sounds like this is not a cheap exercise that you're getting involved with. And I would say if he's unwilling to provide any references, to me, that would be a major red flag. Why wouldn't he be willing to provide references? Either it's his first job, of which I'd be very concerned if it's his first job, or he's done previous work and he's got dissatisfied clients and he hasn't got references to provide you. I could be wrong, but that's what it's saying to me. Now, you might decide that you want to do a bit of extra digging. I know it can be difficult getting hold of builders at the moment because they're very, very busy with a lot of different projects on the go. But it might be worth checking online, check on social media, do some digging about with his name and the name of his business to see if you can find any additional information about him Go through all the different questions that are online. See if there's anything out there that either confirms your suspicions, or actually you might find 20 or 30 people talking about how amazing his work is, and everything's been absolutely fine. Until you do that exercise, I don't know. But I would definitely be suspicious about that sort of situation. The other thing I would say to you, June, is if I were in your situation, I was looking for a builder. One of the things I would do is go to your local BNI meeting. You can look this up online. If you just type into a search engine BNI meeting and then your area, wherever it might be, or there might be other equivalent breakfast meetings. And what BNI meetings are all about is that each week, the different businesses that sit within that room commit to turning up very early. It's usually sort of, I think about sort of 6:30, 7:00 in the morning, and they'll meet for breakfast. Okay, they'll have a roundtable discussion in the room about what deals they've got going on at the moment, what work they're referencing and referring to other parties within the room, and that would be a really good place for me to pick up a builder. Okay, and I have found a couple of builders through that network. And the reason I'm suggesting that is because if somebody's prepared to get up very early in the morning and turn up week in, week out for sometimes years at a time, then that's a fairly strong recommendation that if they're getting referrals from people within that room, they want to keep that reputation, if you know what I mean. So I would definitely talk to those people, get some recommendations. If there's a builder in the room, great, talk to him. Get him to come around and look at your property, get some quotes and references from them as well. If there isn't a builder in the room, ask the people in the room if they've got recommendations, because usually there's a plumber or some kind of tradie in the room who will be able to say, actually, yeah, speak to so-and-so. They're definitely the people to kind of help you out. All right, so that could be really good. The third option might be to look at things like social media in your local area, and go on your local Facebook group or wherever and say, anybody recommend a builder in so and so, and you'll usually start to see some recommendations, maybe the same name coming up 2 or 3 times, that will help you to get that recommendation. I haven't personally done that myself, I'll be honest. I've gone down the BNI route because I think that's a bit more tangible, but as a fallback, as a last resort, if you like, that might be a route that you can go down and see where you go as far as that's concerned. So hope that helps, June. Sounds like quite an interesting project. Be prepared for the dust is all I can say, having done many renovations to properties in the past, especially if you're taking down walls or any kind of plaster work. You kind of eat dust sandwiches for a couple of weeks whilst that's all going on, but hopefully they'll keep the job clean and tidy and minimize the dust as much as possible, but just brace yourself. It can be messy, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes you'll feel like you're living in a building site for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, one of the important questions I would ask this builder, whoever it is you decide to employ, is how many other projects they've got on the go at any one time. They may not be prepared for that question, and the point is you want to be putting them on the spot to say, once you start this job, are you going to see it through to completion ASAP? And can we agree a timeline within which you'll get paid, i.e., you start the job on the 1st of May, for example, and I want it done within 3 weeks, okay? And you will be paid according to that timeline, okay? I'm not going to ask you to start on the 1st of May and then you decide when you want to keep coming back every other day or whatever it might be, or every other week, and then we're into the 1st of September on completion. That's not going to sit well with me at all, okay? So try and nail them down to a timeline and a payment structure that they'll work with. If you're paying at the end of every job, that's fine. But the point is, you don't want to be giving money up front to these builders, really. They should be in a financial position to be able to afford the materials, to bring those materials to site. If they can't do that, and you do decide that you want to work with this builder for whatever reason, then what I would do is I would actually go out and get the builder to order the materials. I would then go and pay for them and ask for the materials to be delivered to site, to obviously your home address here, because they're then your goods. And the point of saying that is that sometimes I've had experiences where you in good faith give a builder money up front and then you never see them again. Or you buy materials and they say, oh, we'll go and pick them up, and then you never see them again. All right. So to avoid these sorts of issues, you want to, if they're struggling for cash and they need the money up front, then I would always go and get them to order the materials, whatever they need. Then you have it delivered to site, and it's your materials, it's on site, it's at your property, and then you're covered as far as that is concerned. So if the builder doesn't turn up or whatever reason, then you're in a position to get another builder on site to start using those materials and getting the job complete ASAP. All right. So I hope that helps, June. Good luck with it all. I look forward to seeing the finished results. So send us some photographs once you've done all your work, and I hope it all goes swimmingly for you. All right. So best of luck. Okay, moving on. Question number 4 comes in from Badger. Hi there, Badger. Thank you for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. Badger says, we are buying a house and have major issues. Solicitor asked the seller's solicitor 4 months ago to register a deed of release at the land registry. They refused, saying they always register it following completion as it's quicker, weeks instead of months to do. We're at a standstill as our solicitor refuses to do it at completion. Our solicitor has also asked for planning permission documents, which the seller's solicitor sent a download link. Our solicitor won't accept this format and instead wants them to send to him, but they say they haven't provided it. Okay, so let me just recap that last bit. Our solicitor won't accept this format and instead wants them sent to him, but they say they have provided it. This situation is a total nightmare. Should we be going through this? This is causing a lot of arguments between all parties. The communication breakdown is going to cost us the house at this rate. It's already taken us over 8 months to get to this stage. Is there anything we can do to sort it? I'm shocked that this is how solicitors behave. Okay, well, Badger, that sounds like quite a lot you've got going on there. I don't know whether you are in between shall we say, 2 very stubborn solicitors, or whether there is some kind of deep-seated dissatisfaction between the 2 of them that is causing you guys to be caught up in this lack of cooperation. But unfortunately, you're the ones sitting in the middle who are just trying to buy your house, and that's a bit of a challenge. So here's what I'd do if I was in your situation. I would suggest that the plans are easy enough to sort out. And what I would do is I would just talk to your solicitor, ask them what format he wants these plans in. I'm thinking, although you haven't said it in your question, I'm thinking he just wants paper copies of these plans and he's not prepared to sit on the planning portal and download each of them. He might want PDF copies, whatever. I would just go on the planning portal at the local authority website. And if you don't know how to do that, give them a call, and they'll guide you through it on how to get onto there. But go on the planning portal on the local authority website, and then you can download each of the images and documents that are associated with the particular planning permission that was granted for this particular property. Okay, and you'll download those. They're usually in PDF format. Okay, and then if your solicitor wants them printing, then you just fire off those PDF documents to a local printing company, ask them to print them in whatever size the solicitor wants. Again, if it's plans, if they're to scale, get them printed, and then either get them delivered to the solicitor's office or go and pick them up and then take them there yourself. And if you want to send them the PDF plans on email as a backup or as a Dropbox file, that's exactly what I would do. It sounds a bit pedantic, if I'm honest. Obviously, I'm on the outside. I'm a third party to all of this, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But it sounds like a bit of being a little bit pedantic as to getting this information. But I would just, if I was in your shoes, I'd just grab the bull by the horns and just run with it. Okay, just to get that one done. The second point that you mentioned is in relation to this deed of release, and it's not clear from your question what this actual deed of release relates to. Is it to do with, shall we say, an existing charge from the current mortgage lender on the property, or is it some kind of other obligation that the seller is currently bound by, okay, and which your solicitor is trying to protect you from unintentionally becoming bound by the same issue? Okay, again, I don't know the answer to that part, Badger, but I think you need to do a bit of digging to find out exactly what this deed of release is actually all about. Now, again, what I would do in your situation, once I've found out what it relates to, a good compromise in this situation might be to suggest that you have a 4 to 8 week gap between exchange and completion. Okay, now, the reason you want to do that is because you might then be able to ask the seller's solicitor for a solicitor's undertaking, okay, to file that deed of release at the point of exchange of contracts as a compromise to this whole stalemate. Okay, so rather than, saying we'll do it at completion, and your solicitor saying over my dead body we're going to do it at completion, what you're actually doing is you're bringing it forward by 4 to 8 weeks by saying, actually, let's do it at exchange, and hopefully that should break the deadlock. I don't know whether it will, and I say I don't know what this relates to. It might be a little bit more complicated than what's being said on the question, but if it's that's how I would approach it, and at least by putting that to the solicitors, you're going to get to find whether or not this is actually an issue that can be overcome, or whether it's just a complete deadlock and nobody's prepared to move. But at least you're offering a compromise, right? I would also look to get your estate agent very heavily involved in this to break the deadlock, because the people that you're buying from will also be in this situation where, they don't want this sale to go on forever, right? And they're going to get to the point of going, do you know what? Screw this for a game of soldiers. We'll pull the house off the market. So get the estate agent involved to try and find a way through. And if the suggestion that I've just outlined about the solicitor's undertaking at the point of exchange comes from you and the seller's estate agent, all to the same solicitor, it might just be enough to break this deadlock and put the pressure on to get it all moving again. So that's how I'd handle it. The other option to consider, Badger, is actually whether or not you change solicitors at this stage and get it into the hands of, shall we say, slightly more cooperative solicitors who could put this through in probably about 6 weeks. But I appreciate you probably don't want to spend extra money. The only downside is that you just don't know how long this whole thing is going to be going on for. And I think you said you've been going on for 8 months at this stage, which is an awfully long time. So that's the way I'd look at it. Is it worth just taking the pain, taking the short, sharp hit, and writing all of that off to experience, and then going forward with a new solicitor who will fast track it through to completion? Or do you do as I've suggested and hope that will give us a breakthrough over the course of the next week or so, and then at least you know where you stand? I'll leave that to you, Badger, to decide what you want to do. We're here to help at any point. If you think we can do anything else to support you, let me know. It'd be a delight. And I wish you all the very best of luck. And I'm sorry to hear that you're in that situation. But as I say, I'd just be proactive. I'd grab the bull by the horns. I'd go at it, get the plans sorted and delivered, and then get onto this with this solicitor's undertaking for the deed of release to be submitted at the point of exchange. And again, I'm not saying that I'm 100% on this question. If there's any solicitors watching this or listening to this that they think that they can contribute more, then please do so. We'd love to have your contribution to the WiggyWam community. I'd be delighted to know what you think and whether or not you can help and support us in helping our community deal with hurdles like this that crop up. So good luck, Badger. Let us know if we can help you in any way, shape or form, and look forward to hearing from you again in the future. All right. Moving on, question number 5 comes in from Billy. Hi there, Billy. Thank you for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. Billy says, we're on a mailing list with a local estate agents who we viewed properties with in the past. I saw a new build property on Rightmove that ticks all the boxes and happens to be listed with that estate agent as the point of contact. I rang them for more information and they booked us in for a site visit at the weekend, but no properties are built yet. The agent couldn't give us any more information other than they'd be completed June 2023. They said that we can reserve a plot for £1,000 non-refundable. I've tried to do some research on the developer, etc. The agent couldn't offer this, and it wasn't on Rightmove. I believe it's a local developer, but they don't have any kind of online presence. I've been scammed in the past for something else, and it was painful, so I don't want it to happen again. Does this process sound normal? Well, Billy, thank you for your question. Sounds like an interesting situation you found yourself in there with this particular developer and estate agent. Look, as far as putting reservation deposits down on plots or new builds is concerned, that could be fairly normal practice. But it really does depend on the terms and conditions that you're being asked to sign as a result of parting with that money. And what I would want to know if I was in your position, Billy, is do the terms and conditions run both ways? And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, we get to June 2023, which is only 6 months away, and that's a quick timeline to start, building a house from scratch and all the rest of it. I'm not saying it can't be done; it can, of course, but if it isn't built by June 2023, will you get your money back? Okay. Or are you going to be tied into buying something that isn't yet complete? Or if it isn't built to the standard that's been agreed, will you then be forced to complete on it, even if it's something that you don't like? Okay, or you don't want it once it's been built. There's all sorts of questions that go around this as to what you're actually being asked to be tied into. One of the things would be, can you afford the property when it comes to the point of actually buying it? Do you need to sit down with a mortgage broker and go through exactly what needs to be in place to allow you to execute the purchase at that time? We were talking 6 months in the future here. Have you got a property of your own that you need to sell, or will the builder take it in part exchange? Will they agree the price and the specification now? Or do they want to leave the price open-ended in case the market moves up in 6 months? This actually happened to a friend of mine last year. They were looking at buying a new build house. They were found the right plot. It was not a cheap house at all. And apparently the builder said there were 6 other people who also wanted it, so they wouldn't tie down a price. Okay. And as the time went on and the house was being finished, the price kind of crept up and crept up and crept up. And then the agent on site called my friend and said, "Oh, by the way, do you want this house now?" And they said, "Well, we thought you got 6 other people in the queue." They said, "Well, yeah, but they've kind of found other properties now." And then the price started to come down because all the competition has started to disappear, and there were less buyers on the market than the builder actually thought there were. So all of these sorts of things need consideration if you were to look at buying this property or this particular plot. And frankly, £1,000 to secure a plot isn't a ton of money, but I would be poring over the reservation agreement very, very carefully before I hand over any cash, just to make sure that I'm not getting myself into a situation that is going to be potentially more expensive to resolve in the future. Okay. And I'll give you an example of this, Billy. Many, many years ago, I've told this story before, but many, many years ago, when I first started in opening my eyes to the world of property investment, okay, I came across a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it talked about buying property as cash flowing assets, but also negative gearing and all this, that, and the other. And I didn't really know what negative gearing was, but then I came across a guy at a property investment conference in Birmingham, and he was an Aussie guy, and he was building properties over in Adelaide, Australia. And he said, "Look, you can, buy this property. This is the rent you'll get for it. This is, how much money you'll lose every single month. But don't worry, it's a tax write-off and all the rest of it." I was like, "Oh yeah, that fits in with what I learned from this book, right?" Not realizing that the market in Adelaide, Australia, is very different to the UK. And what they were doing then was they were banking on the property value going up over time. And that would mean that when I sell the property in the future, I'll make a ton of money. And then I'll be, that'll compensate for the loss that I've made every single month by holding that property for that period of time. And I put down about £4,000 to reserve that property, thinking, great, I'm going to be a property investor now and all the rest of it. And then actually, once I started to realize what was going on, like imagine the complications of managing a property the other side of the world, where they're 12 hours ahead. And the tenant's toilet gets blocked, for example. We need to sort out a plumber. Now you've got to have managing agents and all the rest of it, which is no problem. But again, more cost, more loss every single month, and I've got to start covering £250, £300, £400 a month loss on a property. And in the end, I looked at it and went, "Do you know what? I'll just pull out of the deal. I'll lose my deposit." And I would have had to tie up at least 25. I think the numbers were, I'd have had to tie up £25,000 into that property, and then lost £300 to £400 a month over the course of about 10 years whilst we were waiting for the market to go up. Now, looking back in hindsight, it probably wouldn't have been such a bad play, knowing what I know now and how much the market has moved on in that period of time. But at that time, when I realized that actually you should be buying cash flow positive property, as in property that gives you money every single month rather than costs you money every single month, it was a complete no-brainer to pull out. And just to come back to your situation here, Billy, you as I say, £1,000 may not be a huge sum of money in the grand scheme of things. This might be £150,000, £200,000 property or more that you're looking to buy. But if you're getting into something that's very onerous, like let's say, for example, they've got the roof on in June 2023 and then the builder goes bust. Okay, now they may have asked you to make stage payments during the course of the build. That they might be reliant upon you, because you're emotionally invested into the deal, to cash flow their build, so that they don't have to go to the bank to, raise money to fund the development. It's easiest to get it off the person buying the property, right? So if you're making, I don't know, £25,000 stage payments over the course of foundations in, walls are up to first floor, walls are up to roof level, roof goes on, and you paid £25,000 at each stage. Well, what if the builder then goes bust? All these sorts of things need some kind of careful consideration, Billy, so that you're not going to put yourself in a position where it could cost you more in the long term, and there could be major issues at play that you weren't aware of. The list goes on. We could probably sit here all day to talk about all the complications and the issues. Just tread carefully. If you want us to look over the reservation agreement, again, send it in. More than happy to have a face-to-face with you for 10 or 15 minutes to walk you through where I'd be coming from with this particular sort of deal. But it is important to make sure that you've done your work right. And look, it may well be that this could be a perfect opportunity for you to get the right property for you, built to your specification and within the right time frame. I hope it is. I hope the builder's reliable and all the rest of it. Just be careful. The market's in a period of uncertainty. You don't want to commit to something and then your mortgage cost goes up threefold over the course of the next 3 months. All these sorts of things could happen. It's important to build in a factor of safety along the way. And as I say, if you need to do that over a one-to-one phone call with me, I'm more than happy to do that. All right, so good luck, Billy. Hope it all goes well, and let us know if there's anything else we can do to help. All right. And finally, last questions come in from Sandra. Hi there, Sandra. Thank you for being part of our amazing WiggyWam community. Sandra says, I used to work for a local law firm as an employed conveyancer, but was so unhappy there as the workload was too high and the pay was too low. Recently, I took the leap into consultancy working for a large firm. They provide some clients, but now also want me to grow my own client base. The theory being we share them across the network of consultants who work for this firm. However, I don't know where to start and I'm panicking a bit. I have a Facebook account but get nothing from that. Also on LinkedIn and listed on various industry sites. None are generating me any leads. Do you have any advice as to how I can grow my client network and be seen as trustworthy? Brackets, which of course I am. All right there, Sandra. Well, thank you for your question. Great to hear that you've sort of changed position and you're now in this sort of consultancy role within a law firm. But the answer to your question, Sandra, is my view is that this wouldn't necessarily be a quick fix to your solution. But if you want to, the first decision I think you need to make, Sandra, is do you want to just earn fees and earn that money quickly and easily and not have to think too much about it? Or do you want to build your own reputation and be known for delivering the highest quality, the best service, and as a consequence be rewarded more for it? Now, I don't know whether you have to fit into a certain pay structure or certain fee structure, should I say, for the work that you do for this particular firm. But let's say, for example, you've got free reign on how you approach this. If I were in your shoes, Sandra, what I'd be looking to do first and foremost is to start to build what I call a content marketing machine or a content nurturing machine. And what that means, if you look online, okay, you are going to find that there are hundreds of thousands of people all looking for help and support with a house moving journey, and particularly when it comes to dealing with a conveyancer. So you're already in demand. That's the first point. Second, you need to demonstrate your knowledge and expertise to your audience in advance if you're going to want to attain the highest level of fees that you can for the work that you do. And what that does, by demonstrating your knowledge, you're earning the most valuable commodity in the business world, which is trust. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, let's say you just love the format of what we do at WiggyWam, where you just answer people's property questions week in, week out. but from a conveyancing perspective. Let's say, for example, you sat down for an hour every week, as we do, okay, and you took 4 or 5 or 6 conveyancing related questions and you just answered them in a way that helps everybody from a first time buyer to a second time mover to a property investor who's bought hundreds of properties over their lifetime to a couple that are looking to retire, downsize, haven't sold a house in 40 years or whatever it might be. And you address all of that content and information in questions through a laptop using the camera on the laptop and a piece of recording software. And you just speak to the camera over the course of 5 or 10 minutes, answering each one of these questions, and you start to build up that knowledge database. Now, that can all be hosted on a platform like WiggyWam. I mean, if you go out into the world and you start looking to host these videos on a particular platform as an educational solution, you're going to be paying hundreds, if not thousands of pounds in order to plug into that system. You can plug into WiggyWam for not a lot of money at all. I think it's about 47 quid a month. Okay, you can plug into WiggyWam. You can set up your own learning education suite within WiggyWam, host all of your content on there, all of your videos, all of your checklists, whatever else it might be, all of your expertise can be demonstrated there quite comfortably. So when a client is looking to employ a conveyancer, here's a link to some of my previous questions that I've answered for people like you who are in a similar position to you who are looking to move home. Okay, now, if I'm a first-time buyer and I'm nervous as hell about I'm going to lose a ton of money or I'm going to be ripped off left, right, and center, or I don't know what I'm doing, and you send me a link and I go onto your little, learning center there and I have a look and I start watching these videos and I see that actually you're really competent. You know what you're talking about. I've got to see your face. I've got to see how you interact. Okay, all of a sudden, I'm starting to form a relationship with you. I'm starting to build trust with you. Okay, I'm starting to understand who you are as a professional who can help me. All of a sudden, if I've got the choice of using you, who's provided me with all this valuable knowledge and information up front for free, or one of your competitors who just quotes me, yeah, 599 plus VAT for conveyancing down the phone, it's a complete no-brainer. Okay, so you can start to justify an increase in your fees because of your professionalism. Okay, now this is not an overnight thing. This is a slightly slower burn, but the point is it puts you on the map as an individual, Sandra, beyond any firm that you're tied to. And this is where I really believe that estate agency and conveyancing in particular will start to go as an industry. It's already there if you think about it. So we were talking to an estate agent in the last week or so, and they actually said, we never recommend firms, we only recommend conveyancers. And what they mean is that a conveyancer, you might have 10 conveyancers working at a firm, but one will stand out head and shoulders above the rest. That person gets the work because they've formed a good relationship with them. That person moves to another firm, they follow that person. Okay, so it's already happening in the business world as it is today, but I think it's going to become more and more important. So it's about raising your profile, and it can feel a little bit uncomfortable to do this initially. I won't lie. It is difficult to sort of speak to camera, and you might be a bit, It doesn't really matter. Just get the content out there because people like this natural style of being taught, being educated, or people talking to them in some way, and then you can start to plug that content into your marketing operation. So let's say, for example, you start to forge links with your local community. You go and start talking to local estate agents, and you ask them what is their biggest problem that they're trying to resolve. And if it's anything like the estate agents that we talk to on a weekly basis, they're going to say to you, oh, well, trying to get deals through to completion as quickly as possible is proving to be a bit of a nightmare. Oh, well, I'm a conveyancing solicitor. I can probably help you with that. Oh, really? How can you help me with that? Well, this is what we do. We guarantee completion. We guarantee to be exchange ready within 6 weeks. You guarantee that? Yeah, we guarantee that we will be exchange ready within 6 weeks. Well, how can you guarantee that? Okay, well, here's how we do it. Okay, and that might involve you saying, do you know what? Our fee is £1,500 and we'll be exchange ready within 6 weeks. If we're not, okay, each week that we go on, we'll knock off £100. Well, who else is doing that out there right now? So it takes 8 weeks to complete. The client pays £1,300 instead of £1,500. Now you've got skin in the game. You're operating completely differently to any other conveyancing solicitor out there. okay, because you've got skin in the game. You're saying, do you know what, I'll share the risk with you. It's more, you're financially motivated then to get the deal done within 6 weeks or to be exchange ready within 6 weeks rather than 8. At the moment, any other conveyancing solicitor that you go to within reason will say, we'll never commit to that timescale because it's out of our hands. It might rely upon another solicitor being non-cooperative, or they're going to take their time to get the deal done. And you're going to find a lot of resistance to doing things to a particularly set time frame. Okay, well, why not offer that? Where's the risk to you? You by charging £1,200, £1,500 for your conveyance, you're probably charging twice the market average. But as a client, I'd be like, well, okay, this guy or girl is really smart, because they're going, we'll take the risk with you, we'll share the burden. It's not just all on you as the client, it's actually on us as well. You're starting to see, hopefully, that there's major differentiating factors or USPs that you can use over and above what your competition will be using. So that's exactly where I would pitch myself. I'd go down the road of offering first-class service, constant communication, because that's exactly what the market's crying out for, and being able to reassure your clients every step of the way. And that's how you'll get to charge the bigger bucks. But not only that, you're going to start to generate massive referral work from sites like WiggyWam or other estate agents in your local area who just get a stellar service from you, who know that you're reliable, who know you're a person of your word. You're going to get back to them. You're going to update them with the transaction or every step of the way. And as a consequence, you're just going to get more and more deals referred to you. Why wouldn't people do that, So I hope that helps and gives you some pointers, Sandra. It's exactly what I think, where the market's going. It's exactly what I think is going to happen over the course of the next couple of years. And I think we're going to move away from the shackles of firms and organizations back down to individuals. That's exactly where the way I think things will work. And if you join a site like WiggyWam, for example, you can contribute to the forums that are on there to help people get their property questions answered. And then when everybody says, looking for a solicitor to help me with my transaction, well, boom, your name will come up time and time again. You know what I mean? So hopefully that gives you some pointers. Sandra, I'd be delighted to walk you through WiggyWam and give you a bit of a demo there, show you exactly how it can help you to build your profile, or indeed any other conveyancing solicitor watching this, to show you how to build your profile, exactly why we believe that it is going to go down to the role of the individual rather than the firm as a point of focus within the business world right now, and how you can use that to really leverage the power of the internet so that you've got this 24/7 content marketing machine working in the background, gathering your clients from all over the, well, I won't say all over the world, but certainly from a much bigger reach than your local area. Okay, so if you want any more information on that, Sandra, just drop me an email. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. Just put demo in the title there, and I'll arrange that demo with you ASAP. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to the end of today's webinar. I've been really passionate about getting through some of these questions there. You've asked some fantastic questions, which I really, really appreciate you all contributing to this valuable knowledge bank and resource that we're building now within WiggyWam. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to get value out of watching these videos in the future, and also going through these questions. So thank you so much for contributing. As I say, we're here every week doing this week in, week out. So please do share this information with other people in your network. Please share these videos on your social media platforms, etc. And also feel free to submit your questions to us. You can send them in via email, happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. That's happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. You can also send them through to us on Twitter. Twitter handle is @wiggywam_UK. So that's @wiggywam_UK. Or you can go to our website, which is wiggywam.co.uk, and you can register your profile on there, send questions to us in a direct message, or post them onto our forum, and we'll take them in and we'll answer them each and every week. So thank you once again for watching. Thank you for being part of the amazing WiggyWam community. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for pledging your allegiance to the property revolution, and I look forward to welcoming you on and seeing you on another webinar again in the near future. So thanks once again. Look after yourselves. God bless, and see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.